Ava, who recruits him to the Dandelions. And because he's one of the 5 people, she actually like sends him like first specifically, so he can get things all set up. So he accepts this, but then he's like, "Oh well, I'm really sad because I just met this really nice friend, and I told him I'd meet him tomorrow, and then Ava's like, don't worry about it." He's like, you've got a role to play. So the next day, you, the player character, go meet up at go to the meeting spot, the fountain that you were like the fountain in the plaza, and you spend the entire day there waiting for Ephemera. We later, much later, we learn that on this day, this other character, Strelitzia, had taken notice of us earlier in the day, and then much later that day, she had come back to the plaza, and she had seen you still waiting there. This time, looking really sad. So she kind of becomes like strangely obsessed with this. Not like in like a, I mean, you can say it's kind of creepy, but like not in like a creepy obsessive way. Just like she's just like, oh, why are you so sad? Kind of like it's kind of like a like I want to go help you, but I'm so cripplingly shy and clumsy that like I will literally never talk to you. So yeah, pretty much Hinata. And so she's kind of been like watching you for a while, whatever. At some point, she is given. She has been told that, oh, you have been selected for this mission. She's recruited to the Dandelions, and she's like, oh, you're selected to be one of the foretellers. So she gets this old green book, and we see her with the green book, so we know for a fact that she was one of the 5 names that was selected to become one of the foretellers. But she's not among the 5 new foretellers. And we see in her little story segment that there's a whole bunch of like in the original, quote unquote, the original timeline where the Keyblade War did happen. There's a whole bunch of things going on simultaneously.
What is happening?
And it causes a lot of parties that are kind of looking for each other to kind of just miss zigzagging each other.
This is hilarious.
So you and Skulls are in this specific like warehouse, like you're in this building, talking to one of the injured foretellers, the actual ones from back cover, Gula. This is when he divulges to the player like some of the contents of the lost page. It is at this moment that Ava and Lushu are clashing up on the hilltop overlooking Daybreak Tower, which is what like tolls the bell and signals the start of the Keyblade War. So at this point in time, when that event is happening, you and Skald are in this place talking to Gula, and you hear the massive bell ringing. Then he's like, well, that's it, it's begun. So he fucks off. You and Skald dash out of the house. And you and Skald have a brief conversation. Skald has like basically like accepted her role as a Dandelion, so she's like, all right, I'm gonna go do that. I forget what you, the player, wanted to do, but she Skald like convinces you to like accept the invitation you were given to the Dandelions earlier, but I forget exactly why you're like, hold on, let me do something else first. and it's one of those things like where you never quite manage to actually like go with the dandelions, but then like Ephemera and Skuld like show up after the Keyblade War, and they're like, we're gonna take you. So you rush off by yourself. Skuld rushes off, and we learn that separately from this, Strelitzia, who has been reading her rulebook and everything, and whatever, she's like, she knows that the Keyblade War is imminent, and that, you know, anyone who's not a dandelion is going to get caught up in this Keyblade War. And then she realizes that you're not a dandelion, and she desperately wants you to be a dandelion. So she sets out to find you and invite you to become a dandelion, not knowing that you were already given an invitation and you were kind of already going to anyway. But that's what you get for literally never talking to the person that you're thinking about. So she has no way of finding you, because she goes to the fountain and you're not there. Why would you be at the fountain? So in searching like one of some other Chirithi. Oh wow! Ow! Sorry. It's like, oh,
thanks, Cap.
like, you know, her Chirithi is like, oh, you know, I found them. You know, they're in like this building over here. And so, what is probably minutes after you've left, Strelitzia arrives at this same now empty house that like Gula was hiding in. But now he left, and he's out participating in the Keyblade War. You and Skuld have left. Yada yada yada. So she's just like, darn, I missed them, whatever. But then inside this building now is this shadowy figure, and we literally watch as they like strike down Strelitzia, and we literally watch her final moments. And like she like tries to like make it out the door, and then she just barely doesn't actually like make it out the door. But like we cut to the outside of the building, and we see like her like heart flying away. Oh boy! And it's really sad. And then when we see the like the meaning of the five and foretellers, we see like Ephemera and Skuld are first. I forget which of the two were first, but they're first. Next comes Ventus.
Oh my god!
And they're like, "Hey, cool. How's it going?" And he's like, "It's great. It's pretty good." The next person that comes up is this guy Brain, who at this point his eyes are shadowed by his hat. So he's a little fishy, but I mean, it's whatever. A lot of stuff like really catches your eye about Brain. He kind of acts a little different. But then they're waiting for a long time. And they're like, well, where the hell is this fifth person? Right as they're about to all leave, the fifth person walks up, and it's Florian. He's like, "Hey guys, sorry I'm late." Yeah. So like they all meet, and they're like, "All right, cool." They're proceeding as normal. But we, the audience, know that one of these people is not supposed to be here. We can probably rule out Ephemera and Skuld because of their like actual like major roles in the story prior. Ventus sounds like he should get a pass, and ultimately probably isn't the killer. Well, without having it been explicitly confirmed, we actually kind of know who the imposter is. We don't necessarily know if they killed Strelitzia. But I'm leaning towards the probably not part, and that's like a sort of separate matter. but I'll get back to that later. Ventus, what's suspicious about Ventus is he outwardly describes himself as
Bitch.
I mean, not in as many words. He basically when they asked about him, they asked him to like tell them about himself. He kind of gives like a Kakashi answer where it's just where he's like, yeah, you know, I'm not really. He's like, I didn't really have like, you know, like too many friends. I wasn't, you know, I didn't particularly stand out in any way. They basically kind of gave them like non-answers. He kind of giving off the trying to give off the impression that he was like just perfectly average. And the other thing that's suspicious about Ventus is in later cutscenes, when they talk about stuff in the rulebook, Ventus doesn't know any of them. Like he's never read it. And then like they kind of look at him and they're like, yeah, didn't read your rulebook, and he's just like, yeah, I guess I just you know
Skimmed it. Oh.
Yeah, he kind of like, yeah, he doesn't really seem to have really read his book, which at this point is kind of probably just a thing, because he's Ventus. I don't think it's Ventus. It's probably not. I highly doubt it's Ventus. So the other two are Brain and Laurium, and both of them are pretty sketchy. Laurium, we kind of we're like. Pretty much most Kingdom Hearts fans will peg you as Marluxia somebody, and well, we know how Marluxia is. So who's to say that Laurium is any different? And Laurium always has like I said, he always takes like these very deliberately strange actions in regards to getting stuff done, where if anything needs any physical, if he needs if it needs some of them to go off and fight, he'll always choose whatever option does not include that. So that's why I was saying before about how people are theorizing that he doesn't actually have the Keyblade. Although I think he kind of has to, but whatever. Brain. It's hard to talk about Brain in a general sense. He's just kind of it's interesting because the Master of Masters told Ava that one of the foretellers would get a copy of the Book of Prophecies, but none of the other new foretellers would were to know about the book at all. So
right.
One of these five was supposed to get a copy of the Book of Prophecies. But never received it. And instead, there is a Book of Prophecies sitting on, because basically they turn that room that we see the master the foretellers meeting in, and the Master of Masters talking to them in. That room basically becomes their headquarters. So a lot of cutscenes take place there. So there's just the Book of Prophecies just sitting on the table, and Brain is constantly seen flipping through it. And he we're okay, only one of them is supposed to have it. But then he immediately the first time we see him with it, once the conversation turns over to him, he literally turns around and takes the book with him and literally just shows it to everybody. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Oh, fuck. But the real stuff that starts pointing towards Brain and not Laurium. Ooh. Oh, that wet the whistle, nice.
There you go.
Is we start learning more about Laurium. And first thing we learn is that Strelitzia is his sister, and he's looking for her. So we're automatically we're hey, if he's the one who killed her, why is he looking for her? Because he knows that she was supposed to be a Dandelion. He doesn't know that she was supposed to be one of the foretellers, but he does know that she was supposed to be a Dandelion, and he hasn't seen her around. So he starts asking around about her. I don't think he had name dropped her yet at that point, but he was like, I'm looking for my sister. And they're like, oh no, just started asking around. So eventually it comes to light that yes, he's looking for Strelitzia. And when he eventually finds a lead, he actually becomes incredibly concerned, and he's very like, just the more and more we see of him, especially in scenes that like where he's the only character present, i.e. he has no one to hide anything to, like he's taking actions and we see his like inner monologue and everything, and it's just like this is very definitely not the thoughts and actions of like someone who is guilty of this. Eventually he even like there's this whole extended scene where he finds he finds one of Strelitzia's teammates, Tirithi, who apparently was had spoken to Strelitzia's Tirithi, not to